Hello, Internet. Hello, world. Hello, music and tech friends. I'm Ivan Boudier, and I'm super pleased to host this first The Lynk Music Tech Talk live from Epoca Studio. And today we have the pleasure to welcome an outstanding panel of experts and innovative players of the music field to talk about the new breed, the new frontiers of live music experience online. We will have two sections. One will be a 1 hour panel with our great guest speakers, with Matifi from Trivium, and I will let them introduce themselves later on, with Marisol Tsega from IG Presence, Benzin Lay, in charge of digital partnerships, Daniel Flechter from Primavera Sound in Barcelona, in charge of innovation, and Greg Palmley, managing director of ILMC, one of the greatest conference about live music. And later on, but without any break, we're going to have three innovative players trying to bring solutions for the live industry on three different types of features to help live streaming to become a really immersive experience. One is Earcam Amplify with Lynk Manu about immersive sound, Stagecast with Jonas Herman from Sweden, and Cyril Jezak from France here with me in the studio, just next to me. We'll talk about OmniLive technology, multicam, and we have the pleasure to host on one of the platforms a multicam version of this talk on OmniLive TV/The Lynk. Anyway, with further ado, let's start. Guys, I have a first question for you. I think we cannot avoid to talk about the context. And my first question for each of you will be, before we talk especially about live streaming, your journey through this pandemic crisis, and how live streaming was a potential, not only relief, but brought new perspective, but also how you tackle that new format, that new model from the beginning of the pandemic to now. And then we're going to talk in more depth about user experience and the future. But first, your journey through this crisis. Marisol from my AG, you go first if you like.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Hi. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure everybody will probably have a little bit of a similar story from the start of things, where we really didn't know what was going on, and how quickly things have evolved since. I guess we're in month 7 now, something like that, month 6, depending on where you live. Yeah, it's been really interesting watching things evolve really quickly. I think we looked at about probably 5 years, maybe 3 to 5 years of evolution happening in this really small window, and a lot of consumer behavior changing. Even for me, I like to remind people who don't realize, they didn't even know what Zoom was, that live streaming's been around and mixed reality's been around since, the mid 2005, 2006, 2007. People were already doing this kind of stuff. We just didn't have internet capabilities and the technology for everyone to understand how to do it. And now everyone's got phones, and even, your basic cable internet is going to get you decent quality most of the time to do the things you want to do. Personally for me, I've been consuming so much video content, and I'm obviously, not the normal everyday consumer, but I know that that's been a pattern of behavior. I mean, my mom used the word virtual on a conversation to talk to me about Dancing with the Stars last week. And so you can sort of see consumer behavior changing in it. And I think for all of us, whether we're super savvy or whether we're just coming into this, we're all going through that experience.
Thanks. I will go to Daniel, if I may. Daniel, so you're based in Barcelona. You work for Primavera Sound, one of the most, let's say, cutting edge, but also influential festival in Europe and beyond. What is your story behind this? Because as a Primavera active player, but also from your perspective, how live streaming came as a kind of some light at the end of the tunnel, or not?
Of course, I expect to have physical shows back as soon as possible. Not just because it's our business, but also because there are still many things in live streaming that are missing from what a real physical show is and has been for many years. But anyway, I think I have had the same or a similar experience to the rest of you on how we started behaving during the lockdown and not being able to go to live shows, and then start experimenting with everything that was available. But within this, as Marisol said, this really tight time frame, my perception has changed several times. For example, we in Spain we started the lockdown around mid-March, and by the end of April, I had already watched maybe 200 live streams, and I was thinking, okay, this is showing us that live stream is a viable way of entertainment, and this could be interesting, and there could be a potential here, because as a festival, we have been streaming shows for maybe a decade, and was always something to complement our communication strategy, and was never part of a revenue model. But then by the end of April, I was thinking, okay, this could be something. There could be something here. But then we've kept researching, and I have seen another couple of hundred shows more, and there are many new platforms trying to give or to address the situation of artists not being able to play live. And now I think that there's still a long way to go to transform live streaming in a real, engaging and exciting experience.
Yeah, thanks, Daniel. I share your perspective, and just after this first round, we're going to talk about what is missing also in terms of features to make it engaging and more sustainable, so as a potential business. But Greg, my UK friend, my European friend still, also as a conference organizer, you are for sure a live expert, because you run one of the most influential conference on live music in Europe, and with an international, let's say, scope. So both as a event organizer and as an observer of the evolution of live music sector, what is your take on that evolution of virtual live gigs throughout the pandemic and beyond?
Yeah, I think it's the last few months have been, very, very interesting on that front. You mentioned it being a light at the end of the tunnel. I'm not sure it's a light at the end of the tunnel so much as it is a potentially sort of bright torch on the way to the end of the tunnel. Clearly, the live sector as a whole we're in this catastrophic situation at the moment which has been very, very difficult for a lot of people. And I think live streaming has been one of the real positives to come out of this, the greatest crisis that the live music industry has ever faced, effectively. So I think there's been a huge amount of kind of creativity happen, a huge amount of ingenuity. As Marisol said, it's really accelerated something that's been there for a long time. I mean, yeah, so I think it's very interesting. Whether it's not going to replace the live experience. I think we're all going to agree that it's going to potentially augment it and complement it in some way. The business case for that is very much being worked out at the moment, but we're seeing some very successful live streams that are doing really good numbers. I mean, some of the BTS did 750,000 tickets. Laura Marlin in the UK did, I think, 6,500 with a really small show at Union Chapel. But these are great, well-produced, paid-for shows. So we've gone from live streaming being a kind of a bit of a side experiment to being something that's potentially, like a quite a sizable amount of income for an artist. Become a very large part of a campaign potentially. So I think there's a huge amount of opportunity there. And we're still, there's a lot of people really sort of finding their feet in this space and working out exactly what works and how to get into it more.
Thanks, Greg. I like the comparison. We can debate about the torch or the light at the end of the tunnel. You make a choice. But, I like your idea of live streaming currently being also an unprecedented experimentation approach by all the sector altogether. So it's more about building the future now, so just looking at what can be done later. Matt, not only as an artist perspective, but also as a live streaming is nothing new to you, because you've been on Twitch for years, super active there, with a lot of followers, but also you have your own storytelling way to engage with the audience there. So for you as an artist, like, how was the isolation at the lockdown point, and how you came to the point of deciding with your band to come up with those crazy, or let's say ambitious live stream plans? Because it's from your bedroom to a stage. You had the two experiences, right?
Yep, it's amazing. The big difference with what Twitch is versus what everything else is that we've been seeing with live shows popping up is that Twitch is all about direct interaction between host/streamer and the viewers. It's all about that two-way relationship, always going, it being cyclical. So we see a lot about people talk about immersive shows or virtual reality, all these things. I think what people really want is to have that connection with the person that would have been standing next to them at the show, connection with the band. So far we did a paid event. We did 12,000 paid, which was, I think, one of the most successful, at least in metal so far, of a paid ticket event where we hired Muse's staging director and built time code video walls and specific staging and had this thing like really locked down, spared no expense. It was a big risk. We were afraid. We weren't sure how many people were going to be down for doing a paid show, but thankfully they were. So that went off without a hitch. This last Saturday, we decided to hold a free show on Twitch at our band's warehouse. Actually, all four of us in the band all stream on Twitch too. And we all had our phones connected to our mic stands. The reason for that is to follow chat. That's the big thing with Twitch and with live streaming culture, to be able to follow them and to directly interact. So we were actually, on my channel, we've got emojis that are like circle pits, headbanging, stage diving, all this. So when we're playing songs, I can actually call out people headbang, clap, sing with me, and you could see that happening as if it were a real show. So that thing that we did last Saturday was a 20,000 person attended live stream show from our warehouse. I have a couple stream rigs. The one that we did that one from is the thing called a Gun Run backpack. Gun Run was an ex-employee of Twitch. He created a thing that's run by 4 hotspots, a live view, an HD camera, and a battery backup. From that, we've streamed every single show that Trivium has played for free for the last 3 years, every sound check, every warm-up. When I'm on tour, I stream 7 days a week, about 1 to 3 streams a day. That'd be warm-up, sound check, show, days off, 6 to 8 hours of playing video games, and at home 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Eastern, and it's me playing Trivium songs with Trivium fans. They come and they say, here's the songs we want to play, and we interact and have a good time. Even right now, like my chat, like if you looked at twitch.tv/Matthew K. Hafey right now, the chat is just this constant living organism of people always interacting, and that's the real key here. That's the thing. When I've been teaching a lot of band guys, because all bands, they're all hurting right now because we all make money off touring and off selling merch while being on tour. So I've been trying to teach any band person that needs any help how do I set up a rig? My rig that I developed over time now, you're looking at, this is the camera that's normally for my guitar fretboard. My main camera is actually here. It's an HD DSLR, but what I do is I use a MacBook Pro as a mixer. It's set up like a live DVD, guitar left and right, vocals, everything's coming out of studio gear, real amp, real cabs, going to a MacBook Pro into an audio device. That audio device feeds into another audio device that goes into a PC, and that PC is a 4-camera rig. With battery backups and stuff. So it's like I had this stuff set up pre-lockdown. So thankfully, unfortunately, lockdown happened, or fortunately lockdown happened because of the unfortunate pandemic. But when everyone was home, I think people finally were able to go, all right, I'm going to check out what Matt has been talking about for the last couple of years. And yeah, since streaming as of 4 years ago, it's been 5 to 7 days a week without fail every day unless I'm flying. And it's amazing. The live streaming culture is amazing, but it's all about that two-way interaction. That's what I always say. It has to be streamer/host and viewers. It can't be this separate thing. You have to have it together. And it's as simple as just speaking to them. It's as simple as like if you're at a festival or show, talking to them, seeing what they're doing, and interacting with that.
This is such a valuable insight you share with us, and I'm so pleased you're part of this talk. Not only because I'm a metal fan, but also you bring the artist perspective. Because most of the panels I'm used to participate as an expert, or I used to watch. Recently, it's startups talking about disruption of the music industry, so they want to shut down the old chaps. Or they want to shut down the system to become the system, so usually. And we have the industry just trying to justify their place in the room, knowing that this is much more than that. And we will hear. I think I will pass the mic then to Marisol, because it was a provocative thought, Marisol, because usually we have a kind of a confrontation, innovation versus the real world. And when you hear the voice of the artist, it's really open-minded. It's open of mind because it brings some essential stuff to the table, like engagement is a key. And 2, maybe live used to be the climax of a cycle. And Matt, it's not what you say, but it's more part of a 360 cycle and continuum of fan engagement. So meaning potentially you guys, Marisol, you will have to work closely with labels. What do you think? Or what is the room for fan engagement in the latest experience you produced at AG or you observed? Can you tell us about or react to Matt's standpoint, Marisol?
Yeah.
What you saw?
Yeah, I mean, I could speak with my AEG hat on, but I have so much other knowledge and experience in the space that goes well beyond my kind of 2 years in live entertainment, because my background honestly it's mostly music tech. I worked at a live streaming company. We were playing around in Second Life early days, working with indie labels and working in music streaming too. So I have a long history of sort of watching technology evolution. I like to always compare the live streaming stuff to kind of what we saw with digital music and the change from downloads to streaming and the resistance people had, but where we're at now. And I think with the engagement piece and the stuff that Matt's talking about, I totally agree 100%. I think, live streaming, as Greg said, is a complement. It's not a replacement for a physical event. This is now we're moving into a place where we have another medium that we're going to be able to use to let people experience live music. They could for a long time, but now it's here, and it's here in a bunch of different ways. Some stuff might be free. Some stuff might be paid. I don't think paid was really as much of an option before, but the key here is that we need people to feel like they're going to something special. The bedroom shows are great, if you can go on IG Live and, someone's in their bedroom and they're hanging out for a bit, or you're on Twitch and, maybe you're doing something that is like the rehearsal for a set, or you're doing a free show, to Matt's point, and you're going to live stream that. But now there's this new category, which is maybe a little more high quality. Maybe it's slightly more produced. Maybe it's a sneak peek at a tour. Maybe it's Maybe it's unreleased songs I'm going to be playing in a more produced environment, and I'm going to charge for that. That's like another layer before you get to the real live, the physical live experience. Or maybe it's an extension of that physical live experience, but the fan engagement has to be there. There's nothing more boring than like watching just a sort of simply produced live stream with nothing going on. And chat is not enough. Chat is almost, it's like table stakes. You have to, I think that one of the things that we're going to see happen here as well, when touring became really important to music, to the music industry, to being a successful artist back, when physical was a medium that, people still sold a lot of records, there could be artists that never toured and they had very successful careers selling records. And then touring became sort of the catalyst for music consumption and really sort of the thing that all the artists really made all their money off of. And so then you had to have artists who, if they couldn't tour, things might have become challenging to become a successful artist and to actually make a real living at it. And now I feel like we're moving into a new era. Well, maybe we had social media as sort of that middle ground bit, where if you're really great on socials, you could elevate your career. You could, TikTok, music fame or what's happening with Instagram or anything else. Now we're in this new era where you need to be able to take all of that and sort of maybe move it into more fan engagement, leveraging live streaming platforms, connecting with fans. The way you perform in this medium is different than how you might perform in a physical show. I think that as a promoter, all of this is important, but I don't know that it's that left of center from what creating a really great physical experience is. I think it's just looking at the medium and trying to adapt that.
Super interesting. Yeah, and super complex too. That's why we need like players to take care of it. This is something I truly believe in. I love the direct-to-fan thing and platforms that enables new breed of relationship and conversation with the fan, but there is so many layers to take care of. And talking about that, Daniel, because I want to hear you about what does fan engagement mean from a festival perspective, because you are the addition of a lot of artists, and even more than this addition, because even Primavera is not only a brand, but it's a full experience. When you come to a festival, it's for gigs, but not only. And what do fan engagement means for you, and how do you translate it in a virtual world?
Well, customer engagement it's really, really important to us, as you said. But we have many ways of performing customer engagement, and one of them is through the artists themselves, because we take a lot of care to provide the best possible experience to all our customers, but also to all the artists, so that they can speak up about their experience and they're willing to come to Primavera and the excitement that is for them to play at Primavera Sound, and how to translate that to a new medium like live streaming, because from all these maybe 400 shows or live streams that I have watched, some of them have been music festivals that have been postponed or cancelled, trying to do something to keep the flame alive. And I think it's a new medium, as Marisol said, and a new medium needs a new language. DVD concerts never worked in terms of sales, and if you want to stream a similar concept of what DVD shows used to be, it won't work either. But what Matt described was a perfect digital strategy for an artist, for a band, and that is keeping the contact with fans through streaming several days a week. Because of course, when you live stream a show where you have 2,000 or 20,000 fans connected, you obviously cannot keep track of the conversations on the chat. Once you have 500 people connected, you can't already track what's happening on the chat. But if you keep doing things every week and you have one day 20 fans connected, then another day 100, and you keep the conversation going with them, and you work on new languages for this medium, new formats. I think this is the way to go, and we can all make use of this new medium, and we all can contribute to build these new languages and these codes for this medium together, promoters, artists, and fans all together. And I think that although streaming has been here for many years already, this is where this is really a starting point in which we all need to work to make it happen. And of course, I strongly believe that this won't replace physical live experience, but maybe we have a tool, a very interesting tool, and an opportunity to add revenue streams to our business and new ways to communicate and engage with artists, with fans, with the music community. And I think that there's a world of opportunities ahead of us.
If I can add to that point, I really enjoyed what Daniel said a lot about the language, because there really is a specific new kind of language, even in an ecosystem like Twitch. Because I know we've been hearing about the phrase Twitch, and a lot of musicians now are jumping into Twitch, not really knowing what it is, but they're seeing like, all right, I can stream music, and I can make a supplemental income or replacement income for what I'm now currently losing. But what I think is important for people that want to get into Twitch, for musicians if they want to, is to do a back study to see where it came from. It started with game streaming, and I'm sure all of us in this chat and all of us who are watching have all heard of Ninja, Tyler Blevins. He got his start from Twitch, and what he did on Twitch was stream 8 to 12 hours a day of Fortnite, get incredible at it, and start growing from there. I believe that he had I'm not exactly sure the number, but some absurd amount of multi-million-dollar contract to be signed to move from Twitch to Mixer, and now he's like one of the biggest celebrities on the planet, justifiably so, because he's built that up. But that's from Twitch. Twitch has built so many different incredible careers in so different paths. People like Shroud, people like Dakotas, people like Ninjas. These guys have all grown from live streaming video games. So when I saw this platform, I started streaming video games on it first. It was important to, like, any band guys that want to jump in, there's band guys or gals that want to get into this, they need to study what the language is, because there's a very deep, like, emoji culture, for example. I know that might seem like something small or slightly something insignificant, but in Twitch, something like saying the phrase kappa, like, that reflects to an emoji that references being sarcastic or having this face from an emoji of an old staff member that became part of the chat. So it's really cool is, like, people can even communicate with that, and you'll start to see that online. If you look through different comment sections of different things, people are actually using emoji terms or commands that would trigger an emoji in Twitch, but actually as conversation. So these are things that are like living in this new organism. And also to Marisol's point earlier about, speaking of the evolution of stuff, like, I think that it's so important for artists to always be ready to adapt to what they see. When I joined my band when I was 12 and a half, 13 years old. And when we did, my dad was our manager at the time, and he was very embracive of this technology was at the time. MySpace was the thing at the time, and he was the one that told us that we should start using that. So I think it's important that bands always work to adapt to the times versus saying, I wish things were this way. I wish kids would buy CDs. Because what happened in my mind with the CD sale industry is too many people put it in their head that no bands make money off CDs. And when millions of people believe that, then they stop buying CDs, and that actually happens. So I think that it's about adapting, but that's kind of a tangent point. But it's all about embracing. It's about, if people want to get in the live streaming culture, they need to live it. Like, bands need to jump into it, and not just, if you want it to be successful, it's not about playing a show once a month. Because we're seeing now there's 10, 20, 30 new pay-per-view companies that are showing up every other week now. Yeah. That medium is, it's all going to be about who can pull it off the best. And in the meantime, if bands want to grow with this, unknowing of when streaming is going to, or when live shows are going to come back, they need to live it. They need to jump in, just get into the fire, and start building from there.
That's really, there's another thing I'm glad you brought up the Twitch and the gaming connection, because a lot of times when I'm talking to folks about live streaming, I always point to esports, and I'm like, watch what esports is doing. That's the guide. I mean, I'd say the YouTube influencers are another great guide. They sort of have taken from esports in terms of and it's all about fan engagement. It's all about creating connection with the audience. Even if they have thousands or tens of thousands of people watching, they can make it feel personal. And those platforms, all the features that they're now rolling over to music for live streaming are all things that were available and started with esports. And esports isn't just about like, I'm a pro gamer. I mean, it could be amateur. Like I could just be playing like a pinball machine that would be considered like against someone else. That, you know, it's an amateur sport, amateur sort of arcade game competition. But yeah, the esports thing's interesting. And the other thing I'll say about Twitch is Twitch actually started as like a live streaming platform that was really just the founders live streaming themselves like in their bedroom and all over in Silicon Valley. Like it was very popular at that time, and they pivoted early to esports, and obviously now they are what they are. It was very smart for them to sort of, you know, thinking ahead to where things are going to go and how big esports is now. But I think that that's the sort of thing we look towards, to where we can go with live streaming and music, but we really have to get inventive, and we have to look at the medium. And to Matt's point, I think people really have to live it. Mm-hmm. People know about authenticity now. That's really absolutely. Like they know whether they're real or not. And I think we have to figure out how to manage that.
Yep. And bands cannot, like, in my opinion, like, I know that there's a matter of what they have at their disposal, but I feel like Zoom collage jams cannot be a charged for show. Like it can't be, in my opinion. And that's me, not as me as Matt, but that's me as a fan of music. Like bands, even if it's just your warehouse, deck your warehouse out. Get good lights, get something going on, get a smoke machine in there. There has to be something worth value for your fans, for your consumers, for the people that support you to want to invest back into you. And that's why that live stream show that we did, we spent way more than we should have. And if only 1,000 people tune in, we're going to be extra broke from not only pandemic, but buying a bunch of staging that we aren't going to use at all. So we were very thankful. And I believe, like, it's going to be a different story for every band, but I believe in the case of our band, the reason why that was successful and then this free show was successful, where we did just basically funding off limited merch drops, is because our fans understand what live streaming is. I didn't come over to Twitch and people who were watching Ninja started watching me. I came over to Twitch, and it was 3 years of me instructing Trivium fans, come over here for the next level. Like, go beyond an Instagram picture, go beyond a YouTube video. Let's be live and see what it takes. I've been teaching a lot of other band people about what this is and trying to figure out what their niche is. But it's all about bring your fans over and authentically, like you said, Marisol, authentically showing them what you love to do. And I feel like this behind the scenes stuff, like our plan for Trivium is all 4 of us stream every single day now because we love it. And we'll do a couple free shows here and there, build up the hype, do things like that based off like a simpler free backpack stream, the little GoPro camera. And then that way, when we do a paid for thing, we explain, all right, this is a special event. Our event we did at Full Sail University. They've been doing gaming, music production, film production for years. We did it there with like a 20-person crew. We all adhered to masks and gloves during the whole thing, but it was really incredible. Like that was a full-on, like I said, 20-person crew, 8-camera crew, and made it into something special. So when bands can work their way up to that, because that does unfortunately cost quite a bit, if you can and if it pays off, it does a lot for your fans.
I love it. Guys, I propose that we go for another round of a new round of the discussion, really focus on user experience and features, really to go in more depth into that discussion about what are the key features that can bring value, meaning also potential to be monetized to those virtual gigs. And Greg, you'll be first in line to react. First, I would like to share something with you guys, if I manage to do it. Do you see my screen? Do you see this little, yeah. Cool. So, like in 1 minute, about the Lynk, like self-promotion a little bit. But this summer, I conducted with the Lynk a survey, quick survey among professional from music and tech, and based on more than 250 entries, I received those feedback about what are the most valuable features for a concert live stream. So it's a professional perspective. It will be super interesting to compare that with the fan perspective, maybe later on. But it's interesting to see that immersive sound comes first. And then social interaction, we talked a lot about that, and it means so much because social interaction is not only chat, as we said, multi-angle camera, and we're going to talk about that with Cyril, immersive sound with Frédéric, and social interaction with Jonas, and some other stuff. But interesting things, hearing you guys, Marisol, Matt, gaming, meaning like gamification, metaverse, XR, avatars, and some other stuff related to game is pretty low. So it's a question for you, Greg. I wanted to ask before, but talking about adapt to the new deal, you have a pretty vast vision of the live music industry. How do you feel the ability to adapt to this new language, and how do they react according to the different feedbacks you get, like from grassroots venues, from big promoters? How do they react to this new world in terms of learning new language, developing new models, knowing that they are in a deep depression? So it's kind of innovating while you need to survive. How do you see that kind of evolution?
No, look, I mean, I think a lot of people are probably in a similar situation to myself, which is when they hear Matt speak, they're like mind blown, like what the fuck, you know? There's it's like there's so much going on there. I mean, thinking about, you know, like live streaming 3 times a day, 5 to 7 days a week. I mean, that's a heavy commitment. I think the really for the kind of day-to-day kind of live music industry, and I think a lot of people are in the same boat. Like, people are playing, we're trying to catch up really quickly. This isn't something, these aren't people that are natively, you know, kind of gaming all the time on Twitch or whatever, who are now trying to figure out, you know, kind of how it can relate to them. It's a whole new thing completely. Interestingly, I mean, I was just looking at your survey, like the top 2 things there, it's sound and interaction, which is kind of like a live experience, right? People, you go to a gig, you go to a gig because you want to be physically next to other people that are into the same band that you're into, and you know, you want great sound. So maybe they're not kind of too dissimilar in that case. So look, you know, I think there's a huge kind of catch up thing to be done here, you know, kind of across the industry, from whether that's managers or you know, promoters or agents as well. We had a conference this week, the International Festival Forum, which brings together hundreds of festivals and hundreds of agents. You know, live streaming was a common topic in a lot of the conversations that we were having. You know, and I think people are embracing it. There's a lot of people trying to learn about it, get up to speed really quickly. There's a recognition that, you know, to go back to Marisol's point about the sort of the kind of production aspects, it's not enough to just sort of play songs in a bedroom and expect people to pay money for that. You know, you need to have those production values. It needs to be a great show. You know, Tomorrowland did 1 million tickets in Belgium for their virtual event because people know that the Tomorrowland brand is synonymous with those like fantastic production values, where you know you're going to get like a really amazing experience. You know, there are a lot of other festivals wouldn't sell that many tickets, you know, as a result. So I think it's finding a balance, isn't it, between the sort of the elements from those physical shows that can be carried over into live streaming, to make sure that you've got that, you know, you've got that a really unique experience.
Thanks, Greg. I cannot agree more. I would like to pass the mic to Daniel. Daniel, we've been chatting for a long time now, and I want to bring a question there about innovation in the live space and innovation focused on live streaming. My perception here is that it might be the first time in the music industry that we have collectively the chance to approach innovation as a collective ecosystem move, not as a disruption discussion, like not the tech against the artist or against the right owners or against the venues of festivals. Once you manage to embrace it, but how do you see your capability to innovate in the context of crisis, one, and how do you see, from your perspective, your capacity to look at open innovation, so cooperate with startups, which is kind of different. Innovate from the inside and innovating with the others. How do you see that?
I think that in this context, there's a huge opportunity to deploy an approach based on open innovation to take further steps. Because what we have now, it's many people, whether from the music industry or the tech industry, testing things. And many things they are testing do not work. Some of them work. And we collectively are collecting knowledge about this test. So I think that there's a big opportunity here of collaboration, both within the music industry and with startups and the technology industry. Of course, I don't think this is the moment in which a tech company will take over and disrupt the whole music industry and grab the power and send us all home or looking for new jobs. But I think it's very interesting. I'm not sure if ever in the history of music there have been so many tests going on at the same time.
That's exactly what I was saying. I'm so excited about it. Like Matt said, this is such a dramatic, just a sad moment because of the pandemic. But in the meantime, for creativity, for enabling new stuff to happen, it's really an unprecedented moment. I organized, like, starting March, a big hackathon, European and international size, with pretty much every kind of organization from the industry, including you, Daniel, part of it. And we had labels collaborating with grassroots venues, collaborating with big festivals, collaborating with artists, with startups, on collective attempt to develop new stuff. I think it will not last that long because competition will come back. Maybe Pablo, you can show a few slides over there, because the giants are coming in the room, not the elephants. But lately we've seen that they're not the giants. They are pretty much the survivors, because the VR survivor with the streaming survivor coming together. But this one, interesting. Sensorium partnering with Tidal through an exchange of tokens. It was pretty something. So if you don't know what it is, Sensorium is like pretty much the way VR, not like, but Sensorium, the way VR as a free, plus Granola, another company developing metaverse avatars experiences. And this one partnered with Tidal. So potentially the merge of streaming, audio, and live virtual content will become something tangible. Like also, Matt, you mentioned a lot Twitch. And like a few days ago, they announced the integration within Amazon Music, which means really something. Because again, we are back to the fan engagement piece. Because it will be not only who owns the venue or who owns the stage, but also who owns the fan relationship. But not only owns, but make it a living thing. Anyway, maybe Marisol, a few words, and then we go for Q&A if you like, or everyone.
Yeah.
Your take on that collaboration, cooperation with startups, maybe.
It's been interesting seeing it. It's all sort of happened now, and some of that stuff some of it has been conversation for a while, but I'd imagine a lot of it is really spun up in a very rapid way in the past sort of 6 months. What's interesting with all of that is, especially let's talk about, I'm sure, Amazon owns Twitch. I'm sure that Amazon Music and Twitch have been talking for a long time about how they could do more, how they could help elevate Twitch as Twitch was getting more into music. But obviously, what is happening with those integrations now and those partnerships across the board is it's just driving more consumer awareness for the technology and getting consumers more comfortable with this as a medium that they can use on a daily basis, and not just something that is like a subset of consumers, like young people who are super savvy are going to take advantage of. But it's going to broaden the audience, and that, from technology perspective, it's really about consumer adoption. It's about consumers understanding that this is a thing they can do, and knowing how to do it so that it becomes second nature, like text messaging or watching Netflix or anything else, which all started, with a younger demographic and then slowly sort of aged up and to where like our parents were doing it. So I think with live streaming, these partnerships are going to help fuel that. Particularly, I think Amazon really pushing very heavily on the Twitch side, because Twitch is definitely, rooted in gaming, is the most advanced when it comes to live streaming.
Cool. Yeah, this one is mainly one of the game changer, but maybe not. We remember one of the big GAFA trying to make a move in the social media world, like G+ thing. Not good. So it's not because you're big that you are.
That
the
experience
right
wasn't
one.
great though either. I mean, it's funny because you think like, oh, Google, well, everything Google does will be huge, but that's not actually really true in the end of the day. Just like, Instagram launches Reels, and even though or Instagram, they may not be able to unseat TikTok, because the best experience doesn't always win, as we learned in tech. But, and if you've got enough money and enough users, you can easily unseat some awesome startup who has a killer experience. But just because you're the biggest and have the most money doesn't mean you're going to win every time.
Well, it's really interesting too about like the Twitch path, how you're mentioning it originally started off as Justin TV. It was my friend John Howell. He was we met these two guys from Twitch when we were playing in San Francisco. They invited us to HQ because we've been fans of Twitch, watching a little bit, streaming on PS4, randomly, not really understanding what it was to do that. And they gave us the tour of the whole place. He was one of the first 10 employees of Justin TV. He gave me the story of a couple of his friends said, hey, we want you to come over here and try this place out. It's a huge risk. You're going to take a pay cut. We'll see what happens. And thankfully, it has grown into what it has grown into. So it's been pretty amazing. One of the things we were talking about earlier about when you showed the graph of what fans, I think it might have been media, what people are saying people are most interested for live streaming. One of the things I am seeing is people are taking it a little bit too, like, in my opinion, I could be wrong in other people's eyes. I could be wrong in fans' eyes, producers' minds. But I feel like it is about the sound first, the engagement second. And I feel like things like immersion in VR, I feel like that stuff is so far behind. I feel like every time people kind of get into VR headsets and stuff, the graphics are always maybe 15 years behind. The technology is always 15 years behind. And me outside of Trivium, me as a gamer, because I was playing video games before I could speak English. My mom was a Japanese immigrant. We came over here, I was speaking Japanese, playing Mario before I knew how to speak English and all that good stuff. So me as a gamer, me as a musician, I don't want that stuff. I just want incredible sound, and I want to be able to interact with the people I would have normally been with. And I just see a fantastic logo by one of the greatest bands on the planet, Behemoth, which is what OmniLive, you guys are working on their live stream show coming up. Those guys are one of the greatest bands. Those guys are going to do it right. Their production is going to be out of this world. And the castle they're going to be in, with the production and the fire and the thematics and everything that Nergal always presents, that's going to be one of the best ones on the planet. So people need to tune in. So I don't know if I was supposed to announce that yet, but I saw that pop up. So make sure you're watching that.
Yeah, it was. I put that mention to Beam of gig coming in because my friend here, Cyril, is pretty under pressure right now.
I'll be watching. I bought my tickets. I'll be watching.
Yeah, for sure. I'll be sitting next to him tomorrow night to support.
Yes, it's
because it will be what I like with the what's happening currently is, for once, we consider technology really as an enabler for crazy creativity. For once, and technology is not taking the lead in the discussion like it is about technology. No, it's about live music. Or please, let's keep it this way.
I think it gets convoluted when people try to add in other stuff. People are missing concerts and they're missing hearing and seeing their bands. So you present that in the best way possible. Visuals, I think we've been studying our own case study of the two that we've done. We've done an incredibly well-attended free show based off merch and donations and charity donations and following our band, the one we did last Saturday, the 20,000 person one, versus the 12,000 paid of a high production. You have to pay to get in. Once you're in, you buy the merch that's there. And I think if bands can try more of this, it'd be pretty interesting to see, because we had more people viewing the one with the mini camera. No one complained at all about the camera quality. No one was upset that it wasn't the 8 high definition cameras and the camera crew. They were just happy that we were able to interact and speak and be direct. And I think it's having those mediums and having those two things coexisting is what's going to be key. And what our band has been doing, we said if the pay for thing goes well, if last Saturday goes well, then we're going to work with the SBA, and thankfully one of my family members owns a decommissioned airplane hangar off in the sticks of Apopka, and so we're going to be getting that thing. Actually, we're hoping to close pretty soon. So Trivium's going to buy an airplane hangar. We're going to turn this thing into Trivium HQ. We're going to close up the upper part of the mezzanine. It's going to be like a stream brain area where we're going to have stream computers. We're going to stream these free shows here and there, and we want to do our full production stuff in the main part of the hangar. We're going to wheel in all our production, all our lights, bring an LMG and Full Sail crew, and have like a 20-person crew broadcasting live pay-per-view shows from the main part of the hangar. So we are thinking, if we're stuck for another year, what are the next steps? How do we keep doing this? And in the meantime, each of us, the 4 of us in the band, keep our personal streams going. We do the free shows of deep cuts, deep sets, and then do the pay-for stuff. So our fans understand, here's some of the stuff that, like, here's the free shows, and hopefully you can sustain us as well as we try to work to future endeavors.
That's super interesting, because I think about this idea of, like, what is windowed video, live music, like video content going to look like in the next 6 to 12 months and beyond? Like, we know that they window, like, you know, a television show might put out like a pilot for free, and then the rest of the series you have to pay for. You have a streaming subscription. We know with music content, you know, initially when they wanted to put a free download out and people were freaking out, but like that was like a teaser and you could learn about the album and then you could buy the album. And now obviously we have streaming, and, you know, they might put out a couple songs streaming early and then the rest of the album will come later. And I think with this, you're going to start seeing this sort of, you're already doing it, these different levels of, you know, I think if something's free, depending on the platform you're on, people want to see, I don't want to call it low quality production, but they want the authenticity of, like, I'm in my room. Oh, the camera fell on the floor. That's okay. Everybody finds it like funny. They feel like they're there with you, and nothing is perfect. But then you go up the levels, and it's like, what is the level of, like, warrant charging for something, and what do fans want when they're paying for it? We know in a physical show, like, they expect to have great sound. They expect to be in a nice venue. They expect to have like a bar that, you know, and that, you know, it's gonna be a good place, and the show is going to be good. I mean, hopefully the band will be good as part of that, but there's certain things that people expect, and I think that's going to be the same thing when we talk about consuming video. And I want to touch really fast on the mixed reality thing and the VR and the AR stuff. VR headsets, I mean, it's a gaming thing. It's just, you can't keep a headset on that long. I mean, yeah, some gamers can do it for hours, but like, I don't see why I'm watching like a show in VR that I could just watch on my television and be comfortable. I just, it's not there yet. I do think that the augmented reality stuff is very interesting as a layer over that. And I think that the avatar stuff is interesting, but until there's fun interaction, and that's more of a gamification complement, it's not a live show to me yet, but it'll be interesting to see where that goes.
I agree completely. And I think it's going to be a genre-based thing. I think you're going to see people who are into lifestyle genres, like metal I consider lifestyle. Rock is kind of 50-50 lifestyle, not lifestyle. I feel like those people aren't going to want the immersive stuff, but I feel like when it comes down to things like EDM and pop, maybe they're going to be up for it, and maybe that's going to be more the bank on that. But I know that our audience is not into like that kind of thing. They just want to hear optimal sound quality and go for it from there.
Yeah. And I guess, like, I haven't on the slides that goes up. There is no Fortnite example, but because it was the first one to
That's what blew it all
during
up.
the,
And
the
that's
lockdown. Like everyone was like, "Wow!"
I've competed in a
This is
Fortnite
crazy.
competition too, and Ninja actually killed me. And he said, "I'm gonna fart bomb these kids," and he threw stink bombs at me, and Ninja actually killed me in a Twitch summer skirmish. So I have lived
Matt,
that aspect of it too.
You
Yeah,
tell the truth. I love it because all these articles around the Fortnite thing and Travis Scott were about this is a new world.
yeah.
Yeah, it was an amazing Fortnite outcome. It was
Yep.
an amazing promo window for.
I mean,
for
the
Travis Scott.
millionaire streamers that have been created from kids that are playing that it's amazing. It's amazing. One of my good friends, he makes his entire living off mostly streaming Fortnite. He's since sort of switched to Fall Guys / Fortnite, but it's amazing. It's this new frontier that wasn't allowed to exist. You know, I remember as being a kid, people would tell me, "You'll never get a career in music, and you'll never see a career in video games," and the future has shown us, and that was the path. You know, it started off with Justin TV, and it started off with esports, and a lot of these guys, you know, Shroud took a risk and retired from pro CSGO and decided to start streaming on Twitch. And once he started streaming on Twitch, that's where his career exploded. And he was just recently signed, just like Ninja was, to move over to Mixer. Mixer dissolved, and both of those guys' contracts, they were able to go wherever and still keep the paycheck, which is incredible. So you've got these mid-20-year-olds who are on top of the world right now, who have incredible workmanship, who are working 8 to 12 hours a day, 5 to 7 days a week, and showing us how incredible they are. And it really is an amazing thing. And I think anyone that wants to understand it has to just jump in, whether you're a band or not. If all the music industries want to understand what live streaming is, they need to jump into Twitch and learn it from the roots. And that's what I always say, even with metal. If you want to start playing metal, you have to understand what the roots are. Rainbow, you have to understand that it comes from Dio, that it comes from Maiden, that it comes from Black Sabbath. You have to go backwards. And it's the same thing with this. It's not just getting in and understanding what the new aspect of it is. It's learning it from the ground up.
Before we jump, guys, to the demo section with our free guest speakers, there are a few questions from the crowd, and I think one you already brought the topic on the table, which is about, let's say, make a living out of all of that, let's say monetization. So it's an open question. I don't want to point to anyone, but any kind of word about latest developments in terms of how to monetize those experiences, because ticketing, tips, advertising, merchandising. Who wants to say a word on that? Some trends.
Maybe
some
I would just like
okay,
to make
go for it.
A point about the economics of putting up live shows.
Yeah, the P&L of a live stream.
That's right. As Matt said, production cost of a live stream might really go up a lot. It's true that instead of selling to a local audience, you are selling globally, maybe. But maybe a band or an agent can pay for this cost. Maybe many bands or many artists will still need a promoter who risks the money to pay for this production cost and to sell the tickets as well. And from the research we've been doing, there are not so many live streams that are profitable. Many break even, but it's not that easy. And if you want to excel in production and really make a good expensive production, it's not that easy and common to cover all the costs for a live streaming. So in terms of monetizing, I mean, for example, what Matt has been describing as how they keep engaged with the fans, I think it's a great way. I cannot see the same results happening with a band that has been playing physical live shows for many years and then makes just one live streaming because they cannot do physical shows now. I think that we need to build a strategy for both as promoters and together with artists to make this work in terms of revenue. I don't know. I don't know what your opinion is about this, but of course,
I agree. But it depends on where you stand from, because from an artist perspective, if you go on platforms who are free to use and they get a commission, from an artist perspective, there is low cost if you don't go for the high production like Mike described. If you go for the kitchen concert. So there is this kind of promise that live stream is a new utopia for direct-to-fan revenue generation. Because guess what? You don't need a promoter anymore. Guess what? You don't need a venue anymore. Guess what? Your carbon footprint will be finally zero because you will not travel anymore, and you will sell tickets through. I don't want to name any. There is too much platforms nowadays.
Too many. I mean,
oh, guys,
one thing
I did a mapping for one of my clients lately. It never stops. I need to update it every day. So it's so my work never ends.
It's like, there's an elephant in the room thing here, which, and I think that there's a lack of knowledge collectively from the physical promoter side, because it's really rooted in streaming media, but licensing costs. There's a new thing now that we haven't really now, obviously some festivals do live stream and they get sponsorships and you have to do some clearances and stuff like that as like a one-off thing. But if we want to do this as a thing, there's now this consideration. Music clearances are going to need to happen, and they vary, if they're going to be live streamed or if you're going to record things or make them available later or have rebroadcasts. There's different levels of music clearances that could definitely eat into the small amount of money you might be able to make on an upside on this right now, especially with all the uncertainty. And there's no real clarity on those rates. And I don't think that the rights holders even quite know what they want to charge yet, because they'll go after trying to charge crazy amounts of money when we're talking about a business that's not going to make any money yet. It's a new medium, really. And that's something that I think is going to become a more active conversation over the coming weeks and months.
That's certainly something.
That's a great point. Sorry.
I was just going to say, it's certainly something. I think it's held back a lot of live streaming up until now. Is the spaghetti of rights clearances, which has been so complicated. Certainly I think for a lot of shows as well, ironing those out. I mean, the amount of administration of time you need to do that is actually potentially still a barrier.
It's definitely really hard to educate record labels at times. I'm very, very lucky. Roadrunner Records is super on top of it. They understand the culture. We've got a guy named Fred who's all about new media, who lives the thing, made a Twitch page, has been doing he's done a lot of great shows for Roadrunner acts on Twitch. But as far as monetization, like we talked about, like finding sponsors, we didn't have paying sponsors for what we did, so it's something that we had to DIY. And our band had never taken a raise to be cash positive for the first time. Basically, from when I was 13 to we're able to say, hey, we make money now, we're able to buy food. The only time we ever took a raise was for a health insurance stipend, because we all know how affordable our healthcare is here in the States. So we had to give ourselves a stipend. From that we've always been very careful with our money. So when we decided to do a Lighter to Some Mirror, we had our manager, who's been managing me since I was about 15 or so years old, said, can we pull this off? And he's like, well, here are the finances. We can do this. If this goes well, we will break even, maybe have a little bit of money for the down payment for the future thing. But if this doesn't go well, we're not going to have any money to further pay us throughout this thing until we get back on tour. So it was just a risk, and none of us hesitated. We said, let's just do this. Let's see what happens. But as I absolutely agree with you, Daniel, like, a band streaming on Twitch doesn't quite make sense unless a band is able to be active all the time. Like, I've had several people ask me, should my band start streaming on Twitch? Well, it depends. If you can be regular, if you can be 3 to 5 to 7 days a week, at least an hour to 4 to 5 to 6 hours a day. But the Twitch is all about direct host and viewers. It's not necessarily about a cast of hosts. Or I've seen some festivals or some companies decide, hey, we're going to start a Twitch. Do you think we can do this too? Not really. Even if you appoint a host, it's not really the host of that. And that's why we feel like with Trivium, the four of us each have our own individuals. We each grow it. Corey just launched his last night. I believe he made a partner quicker than anyone ever seen because our fans understand what Twitch is. And it's from 4 years of explaining to them what it is. So monetization wise, thankfully the channel has been very good for me, but it's I said to my friend Craig from Straight from the Path, he's a drummer of that band, he's got a very successful podcast and he wants to start streaming on Twitch a lot more. I was telling him starting streaming on Twitch is like getting back in a van again. That's how hard it is, for at least for a band metaphor. It's starting completely over again. I remember I'd be streaming our download festival where we paid for pyro and side stage, had it direct plugged in from the soundboard, perfect mix, watching explosions and stuff and pyro, and there was 200 people watching. I was like, how is there only 200 people here for a free show right now of the biggest production we'd ever had? But it's because our fans didn't really understand what it was at the time, and that's what we get to see. We get to see if I think it's going to take a lot more DIY from bands, which is good because I feel like a lot of bands become complacent once they get signed, once they have a record out. They're like, I don't need to practice as much anymore. I don't need to do this. And I'm not all of them. I'm not pigeonholing bands, but that does happen. I've been there myself. But it's about getting that van DIY attitude again and going for it. There was no guidebooks on how to stream music. There are amazing Twitch music streamers already on Twitch that were there well before any band people came over, but there was no guidebook on how to do this. And when I switch to games, sometimes I watch viewers plummet. Sometimes, some days there aren't people there. Sometimes there are people there. It's all a risk, and it's all just like going out and playing clubs for the first time again. And it's an interesting endeavor. I don't know what it's going to be, but I think bands shouldn't be waiting for touring to come back, and they shouldn't be waiting till they have their optimal stream rig. They should all start immediately. And when they can work their way up to paid gigs, whether it's in their warehouse or be like, hey, we need rent for a couple months. Fans, can you pull together? Bank on your fans, market to your fans, bring them over to your platform. And that's what it's all about.
Thanks, Matt. I think it's a perfect wrap up for the first part of the conversation. Back to the van. And from the van, let's move to the garage. Let's talk about tech a little bit. But I think it's exactly the same feeling. To me, startup thing has been always super related to the music innovation. From an artist perspective, the unknown, creativity, and bootstrapping stuff, taking risk. So first of all, guys, thank you so much because we couldn't stay. I could stay here for 3 years, talk about it. We can have another panel on legal aspects. Some people may die bored, but
I did have a solution for that because Twitch was recently having some DMCA issues, and I made a long YouTube explaining it. And I was saying, I'm not saying that this Amazon Twitch thing is my idea. I'm not claiming this thing formally happening, but my idea years ago was integrate Amazon Music into Twitch because they're both owned by the same guy. And I said, they're both owned by the same guy, just do it. And now I'm not getting credit. I'm not taking credit, but
Santa Claus is coming to town for you.
Maybe, hopefully, Bezos, but I need to buy me a plane, buddy.
And we can talk also a lot more about production. Like, I mean, this is not my thing. I'm more on the startup side, but production of a live gig for sake. This is also cables, lights, sound. And talking about sound, I'm trying to bring it back here. Talking about sound, I have the pleasure to welcome Frederick here.
Hello.
To the family, to the conversation. Frederick, you work at Earcam Amplify as a CTO,
yes. Mm-hmm.
And you will talk to us about immersive sound. Also, just for people, as a short intro, the choice of those 3 companies is based on the top 3 results of the survey: immersive sound, social interaction, and multicam control. So you go first because you were the first in line, Frederick. Not you, but immersive sound. What is this weird thing, immersive sound? What does it mean first? Can you tell us?
Immersive sound, yes. In fact, this is something that is a technology very powerful, but maybe not so clear to everybody. And in fact, it's very simple. Immersive sound it means feeling the sound all around you, just like in real life. So we need lots of technology to make it real, because what we know is if you experiment something that is not realistic enough, and it's really true for sound, it brings brain fatigue instead of giving the feeling the sound and sharing emotion. So it's not working at all. Maybe
we can show
first
the,
I would like to
demo.
maybe just introducing who we
yeah,
are.
For sure. Irkam.
Irkam. I think you have. I sent you a picture explaining quickly who it is. Yes,
here we go.
that is. So first of all, we have Irkam. Irkam is a French audio lab created 40 years ago. And this place is a mix of artists, composers, researchers, designers, scientists. And they have created, and they are still creating some amazing audio technology in order to give to the artists and composers new digital tools to create music. And Irkam Amplify is the bridge between this lab and the industry and the market. And to do that, we have created 3 product lines. One is related to the data, music as data, because we are able to analyze this and understand how a song is done. We're able to detect where is the introduction, the chorus, the solo. We are able to know what is the tempo, the chords in the song. And so this is one of the first field. The other one is the sound as an interface. And that means we are studying the way the human interact through the sound, and especially with the voice, with machine and robot. And in fact, we are able to bring emotion and interactivity to the artificial voice. And the last one is space, and everything related to space is exactly the immersive sound. When we talk about immersive sound, sometimes you may hear about 3D sound, surround sound, multi-channel sound, virtual sound, binaural sound, and in fact, all this word is a wording for immersive sound. And so to render this immersive sound, you need speakers or headphones. When you are using speaker, you need multiple speakers, not only stereo in front of you. In order to be immersed in the sound, you need speaker all over you, and even sometime above your head to be immersed in the sound. And when you are using a headphone, in fact, you are losing all this 3D sound and immersive sound because your left ear is only listening to the left signal and the right one to the right signal. So you feel the sound inside your head instead of leaving the sound around you. And the human brain is able to clearly identify where is the sound because your human brain is able to detect the small differences between each of your ears in order to localize precisely the sound. And at Irkam, for several years, we have developed a digital technology in order to recreate the feeling of the sound around you, thanks to audio tools. So there we have a more research tool called the SPAT for a spatializer. And we are able to recreate acoustic room and doing wave field analysis and resynthesis in order to create this surround sound around you. And we have created another product line of more for professional. This is some VST plugins, and the product is called SPAT Revolution, and it has been built with Flux, which is a French company. So now the idea is to listen to what is this immersive sound. So I have 2 different demonstrations. So this is two videos. So we can start with the first one. And one first issue when we are streaming some 3D sound, sometimes you are not able to hear the result because of the compression of the broadcast, or even, for example, in Skype, this is mono, so you cannot feel it at all. So here, what we have is on the left, no, on the right corner, you can see several green points, and these green points are several audio sources. And we have the ability of moving virtually these audio sources around you, and you are in the middle. The gray point in the middle is you, so you can feel the sound all around you. So I just let you listen to this.
No, there is no sound.
Yeah, I think there is no sound because on Skype I am not able to.
So Frederick, this is exactly what we need. It's a demo effect, but in a good way. It shows that immersive sound is still to be. There is a lot of still to be done with live streaming, but means there is a lot of opportunities there.
Yeah, because, most of the time, we are used to this. Most of the time, image are always before. We got a 3D sound, a 3D image on 3D image on cinema, or there is we had a 3D television, but nothing related to sound, and even on video games, all the kernel to create amazing image and realistic image for video games evolve quite quickly. And for sound, comes always after.
So it works on YouTube. What I propose, so we don't break the pace of the thing. What we will do, we will share the links to the demos afterwards on the page with the earcam link too, so everyone can enjoy it. And maybe right now the reaction of Matt, I would like to hear you on that, because have you ever experienced or try immersive sound to gear up your live setup?
I have not personally. I think it'll be great for people like casual game consumers, people that play on console, people that play DS, people that play PS4, things like that from home. I think it'd be really cool for them. I definitely know that when it comes down to that stuff for like competitive FPS, it might be a little bit difficult, because that's the kind of thing you really truly have to hear it like via headphones. You'd be able to hear the footsteps and stuff. But I think for games like playing games like Doom, playing games like Fall Guys or something, I think it'd be truly incredible to have that full immersion stuff. So like Fall Guys, I mean, to be able to hear the sound of you falling, I think that'd be really cool. Or having Doom going with that immersion sound, I think it'd be really great. For music, I think it'd be cool for streaming. I think it might bleed into microphones. That's something that maybe become an issue. But if immersion was able to be possible during band rehearsals, shows, that kind of thing, it could definitely fix it. Because as far as playing live shows, streaming, you feel no subwoofers, you feel no PA, you feel no crowd noise, you feel no bouncing below you, which is something that's definitely missed. So I think if that's something that could be integrated in that, I think that'd be pretty incredible.
As far as I know, go ahead. Daniel.
I have tested maybe something that I think it's similar for mixing and mastering audio on cans, on headphones. That is Waves NX and SonarWorks. These are the companies that develop these audio plugins. And I have to say that they work quite well to try to reproduce the sensation of mixing audio on a mixing room with real loudspeakers. So I guess, is this something similar, Frederick, to this? And I have a question for you, and that is, do you need a specific codecs on the broadcasting end and on the receiver end to make this work for a user, for a customer?
Yeah, this is a very good question about how to broadcast this signal. If we are talking about already mixed signal, being sure that users are using an headphone, just a stereo signal is enough. So almost all broadcast platform is able to bring in. But what is very interesting with this immersive sound is being able to maybe to move around the scene during a concert. And for example, you could imagine during the concert you are able to virtually working in the middle of the musician and going close to the guitarist to listen to his guitar solo, and after going behind the drummer and things like that. And in order to be able to move inside the band, you need to receive each audio signal, and the audio signal must be mixed on the receiver side. So to do that, new codecs must be created. There is some few. For example, there is a MPEG-H created by Technicolor and Fraunhofer is able to broadcast 3D sound, and also today, for example, on Facebook and YouTube, you have some 3D sound interactivity with 360 video, for example. In the 360 videos, if you turn the image or turn your head when you have a VR headset, you can feel the sound turning around you because they are using a specific 4-channel audio streaming. But yes, there is many things to do with the sound to being able to use at the maximum the immersive sound technology.
And I would say again, we will need like really more time to continue this conversation, because I know a bunch of things that will be possible with your technology that we discussed during Next Tech Challenge, which I mentioned earlier. One of them is pretty impressive. It's more about not stereo versus mono or left and right. It's more about feeling part of a collective experience and of a surrounding thing. Your technology enabled to potentially recreate the feeling of a 10-feet room to a stadium. So imagine you have a live stream with 10 people. You feel like 10 people in an intimate room. You are 1,000. So the sound surrounding change, and you have 100,000 people. Then you feel like part of the biggest thing ever. And I think this is one of the things we miss collectively, and I think this is why this is number one in the features answered to the survey. Not even if no one pretty much knew what to put there. It's something we collectively think it's important to bring back to the live experience. And also we will talk about that with Cyril later on, and maybe also with Jonas now, how we integrate the feedback loop from the audience. Because I guess as an artist, Matt, it's something that you may miss, like the audio feedback from the crowd, the noise, the screams, the claps, the growls, whatever. This part is also missing. Not only the sound from the band, from the stage to the audience, but the noise around you. We miss that. And maybe that's time to jump to Jonas and to thank Frederick a lot for the presentation. And we will share the links to all the demos. Jonas, talking about collective experience and social interaction. Please introduce Stagecast, if you may, and you can share your screen to show some stuff.
I will do that. Thank you so much for having me. So I think one of your introductory questions to this panel was like how the live industry is going to cope with this Corona situation, and if it is a chance. And, I very much think that, as horrible as things might seem right now, this is definitely a moment where the live industry has this opportunity to really understand digitization and how to evolve. And I think we talked a lot about live experiences here being at the center of like the actual live industry, obviously, right? And I remember back 4 years ago, that's where we started Stagecast, where artists and you know producers were starting to ban phones from concert venues, which is really the problem that we started to work on. And you know we've been pouring a lot of heart and soul and work into understanding how live producers can use the digitization to their advantage. How can live producers create better shows, create better fan engagement, and you know create new revenue streams with the help of mobile phones, with the help of digital tools. And yeah, so I think, you know, looking at this time, it is definitely a moment where things are changing, and it's definitely something where I can say I believe the industry is going to come out stronger from. And then there was a couple of things here.
Okay.